Welcome to Wixie. Today we are going to explore the world of comics and how Wixie can help students bring their stories to life as a comic. First, it's important to know that comics are a form of writing, and as in all good storytelling, there are crucial elements that are needed for the story to be enjoyed. It needs characters, a setting, a plot, a conflict, and a resolution. All of these depend on good writing, on how they work together with each element. And good writing comes with practice, accepting feedback, and organization. We are going to focus on the physical elements, though, of comics and the creative side of that writing. And those elements include the physical traits of a character, the physical setting, the text, and how it plays a role in the comics as a visual, color, and how the choices of color can really have an impact on the story, and even the panel layout. So these are all going to be discussed in just a few minutes. Now let's start with character, because in order to have a good story, you need a character that is relatable. And it could be someone that the audience falls in love with, or that they love to hate. We have all of these different types of characters in Wixie currently. Anime, animals that talk, superheroes from another space, or even a sassy assassin anti-hero. But my favorite thing to do is creating my own character. Now you can use the draw tools, or you can make use of the stickers and make your character this way. Now I have already set the character's face on this canvas to make things a little bit faster, but this was found, all of these elements were found by doing an image search for face and then hair. Alright, so here is my basic face, and I'm going to start by selecting Edit and Glue to Paint layer. Now from here I can use the eyedropper and I can get the shade to make it lighter if I want it to, or because my character is from a different planet, I could even select to give it a different color totally. Then I'm going to bring over the eye. Now I only have one eye, but I'm going to go ahead and take a minute to resize it, and then edit and duplicate. Get that eye into position and flip it. So now my character, has two eyes. Then I'm going to drag over the nose, resize that just a little bit, and the mouth, resize that a little bit more. Now the eyebrows are tricky. I always get these a little bit too big. Alright, just like I did with the eyes, edit, duplicate, flip it over, but I don't want these perfectly lined up, so I'm going to actually just twist it a little bit. Now I'm going to select all of that by just drawing a box and going to edit and glue. That way all of the face is glued to the actual face. And then I can move the hair into position. And I may have to resize the hair to get it to fit the way I want it to. And then edit and glue. And I'm going to choose to fill this in with a rainbow hue. There we go. Oh, I don't like that one. But we can always go back and undo and have some fun with it if we want to. All right. Okay, much better. Now, after you have your sticker, your face created, we're going to draw a box around this and turn it into a sticker. So I have a box, it's selected, go to Edit, Convert to Sticker. Now, my 2nd and 5th graders, we use our faces that we create as comic characters, and we draw stick figure bodies. But we can take these and now go to Edit and Copy, and now it's on my clipboard for me to use in another scene, which I think we're going to move on to and do right now. Let's go ahead and talk about the setting. Stories can take place anywhere. If you're a Superman fan, you might know the series where they tell you about his adventures living out on the farm. Maybe your story is going to take you to a volcano. Maybe it's going to take you to under the sea. Or maybe you have a realistic picture that you'd like to bring in of a lighthouse. There are no wrong answers for your setting, as long as it relates back to your story. Now, it's easy to bring in a background, and you really want to bring in your setting as a background. You start by going to Background Picture. Then you can either select it from your computer, or you can come over here to the backgrounds. I love the ones that are in Story. We have so many different choices, and I think for this particular one, I am going to use this urban setting right here. So there's my new setting. Remember how I copied that face earlier? Let's go ahead and do Edit and Paste. And now I have my alien that we're going to tell the story about in my setting. And all I have to do is come over here and draw the body. And the cool thing is, because this is done on a background, if I need to, I can erase, and it will not erase the background. So now I have my setting and I'm ready to go. The next thing we need to talk about is speech. I love to analyze how the comics use speech bubbles. It's one of my favorite things to do. But I'm a very wordy person. And when it takes, I might take 20 words when 10 would have sufficed. And so comics have really been teaching me how to analyze what I'm trying to say and make it briefer. Didn't do a good job there, did I? But that's okay. So here we have all different kinds of speech bubbles. And from these speech bubbles, you can kind of guess if they're friendly or angry or what type of mood they're in. It just really helps assess the tone of the bubble. Let's go ahead and look at this a little bit closer. So right here, I have my little character from Bitmoji, and it simply says, I like chocolate. Looking at a board, trying to decide what flavor ice cream. I like chocolate. Chocolate would do in this case, no problem. But in the next Bitmoji, she's got her eyes shut, she's got a heart above her head, and you can tell those eyes are shut because of giddiness, and she says, I like chocolate. There's an emphasis on the word like. The speech bubble itself is now got some color and thickness to it. And notice, it's no longer a thought, it's a saying. I like chocolate. But let's look at that one more time. This time my character is mad. And she's stomping her foot and she's saying, I like chocolate. It's like, how many times do they have to ask me what flavor do I want? Get it through your thick skulls. I like chocolate. And to make that emphasis, all I had to do is select speech bubble over here, use that really jagged-edged one, change the width, and I'm going to make it a little bit bolder and thicker, and then I change the outline and the fill color to fiery colors to really make a point. I like chocolate. So a lot of fun can be had with speech bubbles. I really like giving the students a copy of an old comic, one that's in public domain, and I will actually share with you down below the Wixie resources and other resources for comics, and this particular link is in there. And so I pulled a comic from public domain, whited out what they were actually saying, and now I have the students come in and share. It looks like a story of a young George Washington cutting down what probably was a cherry tree. And so now we're learning a little bit more about the story from your point of view. Color, though. You cannot have a comic without discussing color, especially in today's vibrant age of printing. One of my favorite comics that makes use of color is this one right here. It's Spider-Man Blue. This is a very sad story of Peter Parker reminiscing about his first love and her untimely death. And every panel is very blue. The color of it just makes you feel very sad and melancholy. And that's what the whole intent was. And that's why it's called Spider-Man Blue. Now, this project right here, also found below, will tell you a little bit more from a student's point of view on why they wanted to do their project on comics and color. So he starts off telling you that the color is important. This black background makes you think it's a dark story. If everything on the page was blue, you would be sad. Blue is the color of sadness. Bright colors make you think of sunshine and flowers and happiness. Now, I like the fact that he also changed the font, and that kind of is bubblier as well. But red is angry. It means you need to be alert. It means something is dangerous. And again, the font even is a danger font, if you think about it. Comics depend on colors to help set the mood. They do not have a lot of space to get their feelings across. By using color, they include the intent and help with feelings. And this comic book artist shares how color is important to the art in this short video. Now, if you, again, go to our links below, there is a link to this video from Tony Gordo, and it's sharing why color is important. It's a very short 45-second video, okay? Now, Wixie has tons of colors that you can play with. I'm going to just go over here to the color bucket, and let's choose blue. And I'm going to actually make sure I do this with a solid fill. There we go. And from blue, I can start off very light. Oops, I didn't choose solid. Let's go back and do that again. Solid, there we go. So I can start off with very light. Or I can change it to a little bit darker, or darker yet. And I can even get dark if I wanted to. So lots of different choices here that I can bring in. Now, one of the other things that you can do is make use of the pattern fills. For instance, if I wanted to set a tone that made it look like he was behind bars, I could choose black vertical stripes. Kind of gives a very sinister look at somebody who might have been in trouble with the law. Or I could change it and maybe they are solving a puzzle. So I could choose a puzzle piece and dump that color in. So I meant to do yellow, but that's okay. You kind of get the drift here. The other thing that I like to do is look at the panels. You could have a three-way conversation in one panel. We start with the young boy up here at the top. Hey team, I'm ready to work on our project. And the next kid says, now you're ready? I can't come over now. His emphasis on now. So there must have been some discussion on the time before. You kind of get that there's been some frustration trying to get everybody together. So I can understand he's frustrated. But if you look over here, these two girls, they seem to be pretty happy-go-lucky. Great, Liz and I got the book and we're on our way. Come on, Liz. Now, I also want to point out, this actually has a physical background, whereas these, it looks like they have maybe backgrounds at their home as wallpaper or something else. Let's go ahead and look at how easy it is to add a background and then section it off. So I'm going to start by choosing a background picture. I'm going to go to Story, and I'm going to put my character underwater in the coral reef. So here we have the coral reef. But I want to make it to where maybe the character, the scuba diver, is talking to somebody on a remote system that's up above him, maybe on a ship or on land. Pretty easy to do. I'm going to use my drawing tool, separate the background using a black line. And I want to make sure it's completely separated and there's no open holes. Then I'm going to use the paint bucket. And I'm just going to dump in a solid color. So now I have a white up top and blue at the bottom. And if I wanted to at this point, I could go ahead and fill in, making that those stripes like I mentioned before, or I could have even done something like with the bubbles. Those are always fun. Where are those bubbles? There we go. All right, so he's up top, he's below. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and add in a diver. So we have a scuba diver down here. He might be telling something to a tech support up at the top. All right, so now I have both characters, and I could go ahead and add in the speech bubbles as she's directing him on what to look for, what type of species they're trying to discover, and he can tell her, relay back what he's actually seeing. So lots of fun can be had with those little panels. You can also just print based upon your panels as they are in Wixie. Wixie gives you different layout options. This is one of my stick figure comics with the kids, and they just chose to print it 6 to a page. You can also print something a little bit smaller, like 9 to a page. I like 6 to a page, or even the 4 to a page. It feels more of a graphic novel look, but totally up to you and your students. Might even depend on how much text they have on their page. And from here, I want to share that there are many different resources. Down below, again, you're going to get a link to this Google Doc of resources. And on here, you have all sorts of digital storytelling resources, copyright information, and you will even find these samples to go along with Wixie on how comics were used in the classroom with these stories. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. I'm Danielle Abernathy at Dabernathy at Tech for Learning. Happy creating.